It all began when we were at a friend's wedding, celebrating love and commitment. The atmosphere was electric, filled with laughter, dancing, and a sense of joy that wrapped around us like a warm blanket. But in the midst of the festivities, I noticed something off. My wife, Sarah, kept glancing at her phone, her smile fading each time she received a notification. At first, I brushed it off. Maybe she was checking for messages from family or friends. But as the night went on, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. I felt a pang of unease in my gut, an instinctive warning that I ignored. After all, we had a solid relationship, built on trust and understanding, or so I thought. The following week, things took a turn. Sarah began to receive calls and texts at odd hours. When I asked her about it, she hesitated before saying it was just work-related. But the way she avoided eye contact and the nervous fidgeting of her fingers spoke volumes. I tried to convince myself I was being paranoid, but the nagging doubt lingered. One evening, I decided to confront her. "Is everything okay between us?" I asked, trying to sound casual. "You've been acting a bit distant lately." She looked taken aback, her eyes widening in surprise. "What do you mean?" she replied defensively. I explained my concerns, emphasizing that I just wanted to ensure we were on the same page. After a moment of silence, she brushed it off, attributing it to stress from work. I wanted to believe her, but deep down, I knew there was more to it. I began to feel like a stranger in my own home, the warm and cozy space slowly morphing into a place of suspicion and doubt. Days turned into weeks, and Sarah's behavior didn't improve. I took it upon myself to investigate. I noticed her phone was always locked, her social media activity meticulously curated. Whenever I walked into the room, she would quickly switch screens or put her phone down. It felt like a game of cat and mouse, and I was losing. One night, unable to sleep, I decided to dig deeper. I waited until she was in the shower and took the opportunity to check her messages. My heart raced as I scrolled through her texts. Most were harmless, but then I stumbled upon a thread that made my stomach drop. It was a conversation with her ex-boyfriend, Alex. The messages were lighthearted at first, filled with inside jokes and playful banter. But as I continued reading, it became clear they were flirting. Alex had made a comment about how he missed their time together, to which Sarah responded with a coy, smiley face. I felt a sickening twist in my gut, realizing that I was witnessing a connection that was supposed to be buried in the past. I confronted her the next day, my heart pounding as I laid it all out. "I saw the messages between you and Alex. What's going on?" Her face drained of color, and for a moment, I saw panic flicker in her eyes. But she quickly regained her composure. "You went through my phone," she snapped, indignation lacing her voice. "I had to. You were acting secretive, and I couldn't sit by and do nothing," I replied, my voice steady despite the turmoil within me. "You need to explain this. It hurts that you're talking to him like that." Sarah's expression shifted from anger to guilt. "It wasn't like that. We were just reminiscing," she said, her tone softening. "You have to understand, it was a different time for us." "But it's not just reminiscing if you're flirting back with him," I shot back, frustration bubbling over. "What does he have that I don't? Why are you entertaining this?" She took a deep breath, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. "I didn't mean for it to go this far. I was just curious about how he was doing. I swear it didn't mean anything." "But it clearly means something to you." I felt a wave of anger wash over me. "You should have come to me instead of reaching out to him." As we stood there, the weight of our confrontation settled between us. I felt a mixture of betrayal and heartbreak. How had we arrived at this point? The person I loved was slipping through my fingers, tangled in threads of the past that I thought were long gone. In the following days, the tension between us grew thicker. I struggled to trust her words, replaying our conversation in my mind like a broken record. I felt like I was living in a fog, unsure of what to believe. Every laugh she shared with friends or late-night call sent me spiraling further into insecurity. I could no longer enjoy the small moments that used to bring me joy. Then one evening, while I was scrolling through social media, I saw a picture that took my breath away. It was Sarah, smiling widely, with Alex standing beside her. The caption read, "Reunited after all these years. Feels like no time has passed." My heart sank. The realization hit me like a tidal wave. She had met him in person. I felt the anger boiling over, consuming every rational thought. How could she do this? Did our marriage mean so little to her? That night, I confronted her again, my voice shaking with emotion. "I saw the photo, Sarah. You're seeing him. How can you claim it's nothing when you're spending time together?" She looked taken aback, struggling to find the right words. "It was just a catch-up. I didn't think it would mean anything. I just wanted to see him, to have closure." Closure? Is that what you call it when you're choosing to be with your ex? You're crossing boundaries that shouldn't even be touched. I felt the weight of betrayal pushing down on me. "I never meant for it to get this far," she said, tears spilling down her cheeks. "I love you. I don't want to lose you." But as I looked into her eyes, I realized that the trust we once shared had crumbled. The days that followed were a blur of emotions: hurt, anger, confusion, and a lingering sense of betrayal that I couldn't shake off. Sarah and I had once shared an unbreakable bond, built on trust and love. Now, that foundation felt like it was crumbling beneath us. I moved through our home like a ghost, haunted by memories of better times. In an effort to find clarity, I decided to reach out to a therapist. I needed a safe space to process my feelings and figure out the next steps. Sarah was hesitant at first, fearing it would be a sign of weakness, but I insisted. "We need help, Sarah. I can't keep living like this," I told her, my voice steady. Our first session was difficult. We sat in the therapist's office, the air heavy with unspoken words. I could feel the tension radiating between us, but I knew it was necessary. The therapist guided us through a series of questions, encouraging us to express our feelings. I spoke first, my voice shaking as I recounted the discovery of Sarah's messages and our subsequent arguments. I feel like I was blindsided. I thought we were a team, and then I found out she was emotionally reconnecting with someone from her past. It shattered my trust. I admitted, tears welling in my eyes. Sarah listened quietly, her expression a mix of regret and understanding. "I never meant to hurt you," she said softly. "I got caught up in nostalgia and didn't realize how it would affect you. I thought I could handle it, but it spiraled out of control." The therapist nodded, encouraging her to elaborate. "What do you think attracted you to reconnect with your ex?" Sarah paused, taking a deep breath. "I guess I was feeling lost in our relationship. The routine of life, the pressures of work, it all felt overwhelming. Talking to Alex brought back memories of a simpler time. I never meant to jeopardize what we have." The conversation was cathartic yet painful. We explored our feelings, our fears, and the insecurities that had crept into our marriage. The therapist helped us realize that the root of Sarah's actions stemmed from a place of feeling unfulfilled and disconnected. "I know I made a mistake," Sarah said, her voice breaking, "but I want to make things right. I love you and I'm willing to fight for us." As we left the session, I felt a flicker of hope amidst the shadows of doubt. It wouldn't be an easy road, but perhaps therapy could help us rebuild our relationship. Over the next few weeks, we continued our sessions, each one peeling back layers of unresolved issues. We learned how to communicate more effectively, expressing our needs and desires without fear of judgment. I discovered that my own insecurities were contributing to the strain in our marriage. I had often taken her love for granted, assuming it would always be there. One evening, after a particularly productive session, we decided to have a heart-to-heart. "What do you need from me moving forward?" I asked Sarah, genuinely wanting to understand. She looked at me, her eyes shining with vulnerability. "I need reassurance, someone who can remind me why we fell in love in the first place. I want us to share our dreams, our fears, and create a life together that excites us both." We spent hours talking, reminiscing about the early days of our relationship, the spontaneous road trips, the late-night conversations, the laughter that felt endless. I realized that in our pursuit of adulthood, we had neglected the joy of simply being together. As the weeks turned into months, I began to see a change in Sarah. She was more present, more engaged, and our connection deepened as we worked through the aftermath of her betrayal. We began to explore new hobbies together, cooking classes, hiking, and even weekend getaways that reignited our spark. But healing was not linear. There were days when the memories of her interactions with Alex crept back, darkening my thoughts. I found myself questioning her loyalty and commitment. During those moments, I had to remind myself of the progress we were making. I sought reassurance from her, and she was always willing to provide it, acknowledging my feelings without judgment. One evening, as we sat on the couch, I turned to her and said, "I want to move forward, but I need you to promise me something." "Anything," she replied, her eyes earnest. "I need you to be open with me. If you ever feel tempted to reach out to someone from your past again, I need you to come to me first. No secrets." Sarah nodded, understanding the gravity of my request. "I promise. I never want to hurt you again. I want us to be partners in everything, especially in communication." As the seasons changed, so did our relationship. We learned to navigate the complexities of love, trust, and forgiveness. I discovered that vulnerability was not a weakness, but a strength that brought us closer together. One day, while walking in the park, I paused to look at Sarah. The sun was setting, casting a golden glow around us. "You know," I said, "I think we can come out of this stronger than ever." Her face lit up with a smile, and in that moment, I felt the weight of our struggles beginning to lift. "I believe that too," she replied, reaching for my hand. We still had a long way to go, but as we moved forward together, I felt a renewed sense of hope. The road may have been rocky, but it was ours to travel. I realized that love was not just about the beautiful moments. It was about weathering the storms together, emerging stronger on the other side.